Hi, welcome for today's session. In today's session, this is lesson number 3. We will be looking at lesson number 3, carbon-based molecules. And previously, we looked at how carbon forms different structures, and we said that carbon is referred to as the building block. Carbon is referred to as the building block of life. The main reason for it being referred as the building block of life is that carbon is important. And the importance of carbon is basically that almost most molecules that make up living things are based on carbon. So most structures or most molecules that make up living things are carbon-based. So basically, many structures depend on carbon structure. And the advantage of carbon is just very clear. Each carbon molecule has 4 unpaired electrons. Each carbon molecule has 4 unpaired, each carbon molecule has 4 unpaired electrons. Each carbon molecule has 4 unpaired electrons in its outermost energy level. Therefore, carbon atom can form covalent bonds with up to 4 other atoms, including carbon itself. So as we look at it, if we have this as carbon, then carbon can form hydrogen with a hydrogen and another hydrogen, like in methane. And you can see that the 4 covalent bonds here are joined together and they form methane in this case. We can have also carbon with hydrogen, and hydrogen, like in ethane. And this progresses on so that it can come and form complex molecules. You can see here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbon. So we can have like straight chains. We can have rings. And we may even have what we are referring to as branched chains. So these structures, we will be looking at them and how they link to each other. As we look at these, let's base ourselves on one thing here. One, we should take it that normally carbon molecules form monomers. They form monomers, and these monomers, of course, with links, these subunits, which we are calling monomers, subunits, like we can have this being a subunit of glucose, can come up and build a bigger unit, which we normally call polymer. We can call it a polymer. So many of these link together. So when monomers link, they produce polymers. Monomers, as I told you, when they form these big or large molecules, we call them polymers. So these polymers may also be called macromolecules. Macromolecules. So when we are referring to a macromolecule, we are basically referring to a polymer made of many monomers. Made of many monomers. Made of many monomers. All of the monomers in a polymer may be of the same kind. They may be of the same kind, like, for example, they may be made of glucose, and so forth, or they may be of different kind, like in glucose plus fructose, and so forth, so that in the first instance, this will make one structure, but as we progress, it makes another structure. So the main thing that we are going to base on now, as we look at this, the four types of carbon-based molecules which are found in living things, we will first of all look at carbohydrates. We will first of all look at carbohydrates. As we look at carbohydrates, we will look at the structure of carbohydrates. We will use the video here to show what we are talking about. Basically, what you see here as bread is what we are called, these are just examples of carbohydrates. It may be pasta, rice, it may be corn, it may be sugar. All these are carbohydrates. Here, these breads are made of starch. What we have here as a cotton or the tree branches, these ones are made of something different, and these are cellulose. These are cellulose. So they are different structure than in comparison to the starches. And then we have the sugar. We have the sugar here, which is, of course, also a carbohydrate. So we will look at how they vary as we progress. Here, the first ones that we have are called monosaccharides. Monosaccharides, just like glucose here, glucose is a monosaccharide. Glucose is made of how many carbons? 6 carbons, hydrogen, 6 hydrogen and 6 oxygen, and it is a source of energy in organism. We know that it is normally respiration takes place within the mitochondria, and inside the mitochondria, that is where the glucose is broken down to release energy. Another example of a monosaccharide is a fructose. Another example is a fructose. We might also have a galactose, and you can see that all of them have almost the same structure, and that is they are all having what we can call the ring structure. They are all having a ring structure. So as you see within here, we can also have bigger groups coming together, or chains of carbon, to form oligosaccharides, like the one that is used in making the structure here of carrots, and also the cell membrane, and also the cell membrane. So if we take, for example, if we take, sorry for this, if we take 2 glucose and galactose, it will give us lactose. Glucose and galactose, they'll give us lactose. So this is a monosaccharide, and a monosaccharide will give us a disaccharide. It could be also glucose and glucose forming something here like fructose and so forth. Another storage carbohydrate in animals, like for example in humans, is glycogen. As you look at glycogen, you will discover that it has, it is highly branched. It is highly branched. If we compare it to the previous, which is starch, you will discover that starch is not as branched as compared to this. Look at starch. Starch has chains of monosaccharides, but they are not branched as in that. So what happens here? What happens is that when these are being brought together, we will be looking at this in detail here. What happens so that we have these big molecules. So we are having a glucose molecule coming together to form chains. So what happens is that this first carbon and the fourth carbon, here we have how many carbon? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But these two are important for us because these are the points where linkage, or where we have bonds. These are the points where we have bonds. So as these two sides, one is called an alpha and the other one is called a beta, they come together to join. Here we are having a glucose molecule. This is one. So this part here, which is hydrogen, oxygen, and and hydrogen, this will form a water molecule. So what happens? This process, when these two molecules come together, in a hydrolysis reaction, that is, what happens is that when they come together, we will have this coming together, and what is released here is water. What is formed here is a glycosidic bond. What is formed here is a glycosidic bond. This one is a condensation reaction because we will lose some water. In this process. So we are having OH, this one providing its hydrogen, and we lose water. So this is a condensation reaction. And we can also have the opposite, which is a hydrolysis reaction. So if you have glucose, fructose coming together, they form maltose. So we are having here a sucrose. So two monosaccharides units joined by a glycosidic bond. glucose, fructose, sucrose, and so forth. So it is also easy to condense them back or to continue joining them so that we can form polysaccharides, which is a storage molecule that normally is produced by plants. And in animals, we have what we call glycogen, which is normally produced in the liver. So what happens is that when these two come together and continue bonding, will either form polysaccharides or a monosaccharide, which in this case here, what we have is a polysaccharide. So this polysaccharide, in fact, has branches. It's a branched chain. Because it is branched, it is different. This one is the one for starch, but for glycogen, it is even more branched. It has more branches. So we will go to the next so that I can explain this. So what we have here I'm saying, so we can have monosaccharides, which are also called simple sugars. When these two monosaccharides come together, a monosaccharide and a monosaccharide, they will produce disaccharides. And when the disaccharides come together, so two sugars bonded make a disaccharide. Two sugars bonded form a disaccharide. If we have more than two, then what will be formed will be polymers, and in this case, many glucose molecules can be linked to make polysaccharides. So many glucose molecules may be linked to form polysaccharides. So as we have seen already, polysaccharides are polymers of monosaccharides. Examples here include example for a polysaccharide may include starch, and we said starch is from plants, and then we have glycogen from animals. Normally in the liver, it is a storage carbohydrate. Both of these two can be broken down to produce energy for the organism. The difference between these two is that glycogen is made in animals, that is one, and it is highly branched. So this one is highly branched. This is highly branched. This one is also branched, but not as highly branched as in the second one. So we can say starches are also branched chains. So branch chains of simple sugars, and in this case glucose. Then we have the third group is cellulose. Cellulose is highly branched. I mean not highly branched, but it's straight, sorry for that. Cellulose is made of straight straight monomers. So these straight monomers are very important for this structure. So why is it important? Each straight rigid structure make the cellulose molecule a major building block in plant structures. So this makes it a very important molecule in building plant structure. This makes it more rigid. And it's because of this that plants are more strong in terms of rigidity. So we will stop here for now, and in the next video we will be looking at the structure of lipids.